of all, a great big thank you to all of you. There's quite a few people here today. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to come and find out more about the meal kit for MPC that's Save the Children have led on developing, funded by USAID, and also working in collaboration with IRC, Mercy Corps, the CALP and the CALP Network. So we're all really pleased to be here today. So I would really encourage everybody to introduce themselves in the chat, use it as a networking opportunity as well, perhaps mention what you would like to get out of the session today. There are going to be 2 points in the presentation where you can ask questions, but we'd really also encourage you to use the chat filter, the chat box to ask questions in there, and we will do our best to answer you. And also, if there's other people in this group that I'm sure has a lot of knowledge, then please go ahead. So if we start off with some introductions, my name's Amy Jose. I'm a MEAL officer for Programme Performance for the Programme Performance and Quality Unit here at Mercy Corps. I'm based in the UK. So I've been on board with the toolkit creation for about on and off for about the last 2 years. I supported in some of its creation, feedback, and testing. Here at Mercy Corps also, we've used this opportunity to look at how our systems can be more automated as well by using standard tools such as the ones we will share today. Now, I'd like to pass over to Victor Otsimi and for him to introduce himself too. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Amy. So my name is Victor Otsimi, and I work with IRC, International Rescue Committee. So I'm the Economic Recovery and Development Measurement Advisor. So my work is just to support M&D activities when it comes to our sector, which again is economic recovery and development. But again, I'm also part of MPCA Big Advisory Committee team, and together with the Save the Children and Mercy Corps, we have really been supporting and ensuring we have this toolkit in place. And I think now we are reaching a point where we are moving to the next journey of sharing some of these lessons with other agencies. So happy to join the session. And yeah, back to you, Amy.
Thanks very much, Victor. And me and Victor will be your co-presenters today. This webinar will be run again at a more US Latin America friendly time on the 14th, which was all in the email. So if you have colleagues that are interested, please pass along the information. So just a brief look at today's agenda. So the meeting should last up to an hour. We're going to be looking at cash in general, its importance in the humanitarian sector and the grand bargain, toolkit development, introduction to the tools themselves. There's plans, there's accountability to affected population work, there's trackers, data flows, baselines, endlines, everything you could want. In addition to PDM survey and adaptive management tools. And then we're also going to be looking at the real life examples of use at both Mercy Corps and IRC too. So there will be a time to ask questions kind of after we've presented the toolkit, and then another time to ask questions at the end of the presentation as well. But again, please do use the chat function. So looking at first, why CVA? So cash and voucher assistance is one of the best evidence tools to deliver humanitarian and development assistance to families. It's also the most dignified form of assistance, giving people money to meet critical needs, invest in their livelihood, promotes spending in local markets and investing in their children's future. Most of all, it gives people the choice on what's best for their families. In 2020 at Mercy Corps, almost half of our humanitarian assistance was delivered via cash or vouchers, with £41 million being distributed globally by Mercy Corps alone and 4.1 billion the year before globally. And it's since then gone up as well. Given the centrality of cash assistance in the sector, it's vital that meal teams are properly equipped with the best evidence-based methodologies, technologies, and digital tools to best support the cash process. Oh, and so sorry, we just have a little look at some of the work that Save the Children have been doing there on the slides. Oh. Fantastic. So moving on to cash assistance and the Grand Bargain. So for those less familiar with the Grand Bargain, it's a unique agreement between some of the largest donors and humanitarian organisations across the globe who have committed to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of humanitarian action in order to get more means into the hands of people in need. The Grand Bargain began in 2016 between 19 donors and 16 international aid organisations such as INGOs, the UN and the Red Cross. It was revised in 2021 as the Grand Bargain 2.0 and has been revised in June of this year also. It now includes around 25 NGOs, 12 UN agencies, the Red Cross and others. And the MPCA Toolkit relates to the Grand Bargain as it builds on work stream 3, the increase in use and coordination of cash. And this includes the following points we can see here: increased use, new and innovative delivery methods, evidence base of cost, collaboration, standards, coordination, M&E systems in place, and then also Save the Children have done a lot of work on outcome indicators too. As part of the global effort, Save the Children released multi-purpose outcome indicators and guidance last year. This is a core set of indicators designed to harmonise and simplify reporting, so data is standardised and therefore consistent and comparable, with the hope of the toolkit being that this is not only across programmes and country teams, but also across agencies, which is much needed in cluster and working groups, as well as consortiums. I'll now pass over to Victor to speak. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So thank you. Yeah, so I next want to look at the MPCA toolkit, how it looks like. So first I'll take you through the introduction to the toolkit. But again, we were able to receive feedback from 26 different agencies. So this was over 12 months. But again, we had 60 individuals giving their feedback. So this was in the year 2021 and really supported us in coming up with the toolkit. Also, from that time, there's been some improved collaboration between Save the Children, Mercy Corps, and International Rescue Committee. And we have Mercy Corps and then also IRC also some of the, also Save the Children, some of the agencies that really piloted this toolkit. And now we are reaching a phase whereby the organization are doing institutionalization, and we are working on ensuring country programs are adopting and using this toolkit. So we have been able to publish the meal toolkit. So it is in different languages: Arabic, English, French, Spanish, and Turkish. But again, we also have the forms in some in XML Kobo format. That again, those agencies that are interested, they're able to customize and also contribute to standardization of standardization of the indicators, the outcome-related indicators. Yeah, thanks. Let's move to the next slide. Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I think it's not moving. It's okay. So, okay, as the slide sets up,
Sorry, I think I've messed up
sorry.
the slide setup. Go one moment, Victor, and I
It's
will
okay.
I will reshare. Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay. Welcome. So as the slide sets up, we have had a number of tools in place so far. And I think in the next slides, I want to take you through some of these tools that so far we have been able to come up with. So the first one there, we have the main focus of this toolkit is to address maybe the needs of standardized tools as much as possible in line with the grant bargain, and ensuring as much as possible the MPCA indicators that we have here, they are in line in what we are doing, and meal, and then also cash and voucher assistance programming work. So when you look at the contents of the tool, the grant bargain MPC outcome tools have indicators, guideline, and then we also have 4 guidance note. So again, the guidance note really just supports on contextualization and the use of the tools. And then we also have 3 analytical guidance notes. So these are more on how to analyze, interpret, and present the findings. And we also have additional 10 follow-up tools. So these are listed, and just taking you through them. The first one that we have is the M&D plan template. So this really guides on planning. So it is in Word format. And then we also have AAP plan template. So this one we are calling accountability to affected population plan template in Word format, but again, really guides on the planning based on the affected population there. And then we also have ITT template. So that one is the indicator tracking table template that will really guide on how best to track the indicators. And then we also have a cash data flow map template. So this is in Excel. And we have the baseline and then the endline survey template. So these are in XML formats that can be easily customizable. And they're also in those 4 different languages. And then we also have the PDM, so that is post-distribution monitoring template, so still in XML format, but again, you can be able to customize it, and because it is in COBOL format, and maybe have it updated in your data collection platform. We also have the post-distribution monitoring report and adaptive management tool. So this is Excel, but again, it's able to really guide on developing the report, yeah. And then we also have a market monitoring template. Again, a form in XLS form, but again, it is really able to support in understanding the ongoing marketing conditions there, pricing, and as you deliver the programming work, you are able to do a study and then just be able to see the impact of the program when it comes to the market monitoring. And then we also have a feedback and report mechanism tracker. So again, bringing in the feedback client responsiveness angle into this. So again, it really gives you the voice of what the population that we are serving are saying. So it's a tool that really supports in collecting this feedback. And finally, we have a sample size calculator, a decision tool that really guides on how to calculate the sample size. Maybe if you want to do baseline to a sample population, it will really guide on how to go about this. And then we also have some guidance notes that really guide on the sampling. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So in the next slide, I'll just take you briefly through in depth, maybe through some of the tools that we have. So starting with the monitoring and evaluation plan. So maybe, okay, sorry. So I'm seeing you are on the baseline. I think I'm moving ahead. Yeah, so starting with the baseline and endline survey template. So again, just going through this. Emmy, you are on which slide? I've noted you are ahead.
Sorry, you're on baseline?
Okay. Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so good taking you through maybe the baseline and endline, because again, this really guides us in understanding the outcome and maybe the impact of our MPC, multipurpose cache programming work. So again, the first section is on maybe introduction of the GB. So GB, as earlier indicated, is the global bargain outcome indicators. So again, the template includes minimum requirements for MPCA monitoring as agreed by the Grand Bargain Cash Workstream. But again, it has additional questions that are added maybe depending with the intervention and also organization goal and donor requirement. So maybe if a donor wants specific indicators to be added, it really allows for that. So all cash and voucher assistance, including cash and voucher assistance plus. So these are maybe those that are sectorial related. So we have all these indicators are included here. But again, one thing to note is that the indicators are also aligned to protection mainstreaming indicators, which again is really, really key in ensuring we're able to bring in the protection angle. So looking at the survey structure, so the template contains two sets of indicators. So again, we have the core indicators that really speak about the overall organization goals there. But again, we have the sector-specific indicators, MPC indicators, that are also aligned into this. So one thing, when you open the tool, we have those texts that are in red. So these are, it just represents the areas that must be contextualized, so that again, we are really able to work within the outcome, standardized outcome. Looking at how each module is linked to the indicators. So the indicators are selected per intervention, and then also they are selected based on the context. But again, each indicator is designed a group of XLL forms. So again, this is grouped by sector, and then we can easily pick and customize this. We also have automated calculation of the indicators. So maybe just some feedback on this is the section contains, but it allows you to check just to ensure the auto calculations are accurate as much as possible. And then also, once all the calculations have been verified, maybe during test, yeah. So again, the sections can still be deleted, so that again you can be able to customize maybe what you feel is really fit for your presentation there. Okay, next slide. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's coming. Okay, it's coming. It's okay. But again, in the next slide, I just wanted to take you through. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. A sample of how the XLS form looks like for this particular baseline and endline form. But again, it really allows you to customize, maybe improve. But again, we are the text marked in red, so they really contribute towards the standardization. So I think one feedback and encouragement is to keep them or maybe adopt as it is, so that again, as we adopt the tools, we're able to really contribute towards that standardization. Okay, so maybe the next slide. In the next slide, maybe, okay, it's coming. But again, it's a slide that I want to take you through some of the additional tools that we have. So yeah, thank you. You have moved ahead, so go back one step. Okay, yeah, there, thank you. Yeah, so starting with the monitoring and evaluation plan. So again, remember the list of the tools that we have. So the purpose of the monitoring and evaluation plan is just to serve as a framework for activities, and then to demonstrate accountability and improve the quality of activity implementation and outcome for the participants. So again, it really helps us be able to bring this out. But again, the monitoring and evaluation plan should serve as a roadmap for activity staff. Again, supporting the documentation of M&D approaches and just ensuring the processes are efficient and everything is in detail. So that's one key thing about the M&D plan. Looking at the accountability to affected population plan, that also is in the toolkit. So again, the accountability system should be built in principle with the equitable access to information, access to complaint and feedback mechanism, and then participation in the program in line with the core humanitarian standards. So in as much as possible, we have some guidance notes that really guide on how to customize this and just to ensure we are in line with the humanitarian standard. Looking at the cash data flow map, so again, it's a map that really outlines the question on who, what, when, where, why, and how. Yeah, for each and every step that corresponds to the tool to ensure the teams, yeah, so this is the MEAL team, are completing the task in the recommended order as possible. Okay. Finally, looking at the feedback and response mechanism tracker that again is in the toolkit. So again, the feedback and concern received through the feedback and reporting mechanism channels. So this must be documented, categorized, and then referred to and resolved. So again, this template outlines the minimum information that should be included in the feedback and reporting tracker. But again, really supports bringing in the client angle, so the people that we serve, just to ensure what they are sharing with us, we are incorporating it in our day-to-day implementation of our programming work. Okay, thank you. Next slide. So in the next slide, it's coming. Okay. Yeah, thank you. It is a snapshot of a configuration that was done in Kobo, but again, this looks like a ComCare configuration. How the baseline and endline form looks like. So this is a co-indicator on reduced coping strategy index, and it's an indicator that's really aligned to the food consumption score. So again, we are able to collect this information, just be able to tell, let's say, in the last 7 days, the household, how many days maybe did they go without food? So again, being able to aggregate all these score areas, and at the end, you'll be able to see we have a score on categorization that really tells you whether the household is living at under emergency, crisis. But again, it just shows how when you customize the tool, there's that improved visualization that again really tells you also the final category that maybe you can be able to classify that household in. Okay, the next slide. And I think I'll leave it to you. It will be your section to continue.
Thanks very much, Victor.
Great.
Lovely.
Okay.
So
Welcome.
now moving on to the post-distribution monitoring survey, which everybody usually gets excited about. So the PDM is conducted to assess the impact and effectiveness of cash assistance provided to households through key indicators. The PDM also gathers feedback from participants to take into consideration when doing program design and revisions, and can also serve as a midline or an endline. This allows for data comparison throughout time with either the vulnerability assessment or baseline indicators. So the MPCA toolkit PDM includes process and outcome indicators that hope to provide meaningful and actionable data points for program teams on cash programming for modality effectiveness, the efficiency of implementation, and the effectiveness of the approach to achieve the desired outcome. The survey is comprehensive and it includes 11 topics from selection and targeting to fraud and utilization. In particular, there are the ECHO protection mainstreaming indicators, and that also includes auto calculations of all indicators, such as protection, but also RCSI, FCS, and other composites. What we would say, though, is that all of this is completely customizable. So take what you need and leave or edit the rest. But if you want a PDM that's off the shelf, you can use this. But we would really recommend that you review it and customize it for your context. So just a look at those auto calculations, which we love here at Mercy Corps, love auto calculations wherever it is that they are done. But if you can see highlighted here in yellow is the ECHO protection indicators, so that may look familiar to some of you. There's 8 of them, and then you take them down a calculation and then you come out with the score, and that's a frequent donor donor requirement to use that obviously for ECHO, but it's also, I believe, appreciated by other donors as well. So this can be completely done in your XLS. So looking at the survey modules. So as mentioned previously, there are various sectors in the survey that include targeting, satisfaction, fraud, has the right amount of money been distributed and received by the right person? Have they experienced any difficulties or challenges? Has your organization, have all of our organizations upheld the principle of doing no harm? What have they spent it on? Has this progressed towards the outcome indicators? There's also things on gender and protection, safety and security, and much more. But to be quite honest, really the very best way to look at this is to download it and look at the module sections for yourselves. It is a little bit on the lengthy side. However, it does really cover everything, and with good enumerator training, the survey timing can be okay. So this is an example of the sections. So for example, module D is participation and satisfaction. You can see here, yellow, again, there's those protection mainstreaming indicators. In the red here, this is where we sort of suggest that people customize. So mostly this is your organization's name, but also we've got, you know, how much cash in brackets local currency did you receive? And one of the nice things as well is that once you have customized this in your country team for your organization, obviously, you know, some of the customizations you wouldn't need to do anymore, like putting your organization in. So said each module is laid out clearly. Obviously it's an XLS, so it can be fed into Kobo, ODK, ONA, and Comcare. So it's super versatile, and it does come in, I believe it's that it comes in English, French, Spanish, and Arabic. I hadn't seen the Turkish yet, but perhaps it's been added in Turkish. But the tools are definitely at least in the English, French, Spanish, and Arabic. So to accompany and complement the PDM tool, there's also a PDM adaptive management tool, and this can be used to organize and consolidate findings, which will support teams to make more informed data-driven decision and utilize their program data, and also improve transparency internally with participants. Just as the PDM itself, this would need customization. So whatever you customize in the PDM and also for your particular program, you would need to do in the adaptive management tool. And as it mentions here, this should be done after, this tool should be filled out after each PDM you do. So we can look at this example template here, got our program manager name, MEL leads and whatnot, and then we have the different time frames, December in the columns, March and April to May. And then if we go on to the next slide, we can just see that there's, you know, kind of classic indicators. You'd see percentage of respondents who received the amount they were told they would receive, people that said it was difficult to access, distribution, top 3 spends, feedback mechanisms, and also we've got suggestions and concerns that are addressed. So this is, we hope, a nice way to encourage people to really engage with their data and actually make decisions from their data. Now, I'm just going to pass it back over to Victor to briefly talk about the market monitoring tool, because it was more created by IRC. So over to Victor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I think in brief, yeah, it's a tool that is also really supporting us, and we'll be able to see how maybe its visuals also looks like. But again, this is a tool that is meant for primary data collection only. So that means data should not be collected if reliable and timely secondary data are unavailable. Yeah. So again, it's a tool that we use just to ensure we are able to keep track of the market price as much as possible. But again, it really guides just to ensure we are able to tell the impact of market, maybe when it comes to our cash, multi-purpose programming work. But again, this template requires a high level of customization, especially when you look at the Kobo template that we have, since the products to be monitored will vary widely. So that means maybe that the suggested products that we have in the tool vary per context. Maybe in a given country, you'll realize they might be having a separate or different product. So again, we are allowing as much as possible the teams adopting the tool to customize, just to ensure it really speaks to their day-to-day programming work. Yeah, so in the next slide, maybe you can move to the next slide. So again, a slide whereby we wanted also to share how the tool looks like in XLS format. So that's how it looks like. But again, we are allowing as much as possible its customization, just to ensure we are able to use it for additional improvement and just to be able really to speak to market price monitoring. So I think one feedback I can share in IRC, when it comes to market price monitoring, at times we use secondary available data because again, the tool really supports collection of this data, but again, due to maybe time limitation or maybe budgetary, secondary data information can also be supportive and just ensure you're able to use it to complement your programming work. Okay, next slide. Okay. So again, it's a slide, yeah, whereby we're able to see this into detail, how the tool is used. But again, showing the various segregations that we have there. But again, we are saying it varies per context because again, maybe the current context that we are sharing here might be a bit different from where we are implementing our programming work. So again, we are allowing it to be customized so that again, it really speaks to our day-to-day programming work. Yeah, so I think, yeah, I'll pause there. Maybe.
Wonderful. Thank you, Victor. So now we just have a couple of minutes. Is there anybody that would like to ask any questions at this point in the presentation? I'm just going to look in the chat as well. So can we find in the toolkit the ideal data collection period of time? I'm not sure, actually, Ali. I would have to take a look, but cash PDM should be around. So this is a cash toolkit. So cash should really be around 2 weeks to 4 weeks maximum. It also depends on, I suppose, how long your cash is designed to last and how many times you're going to be distributing. Thank you. Yes, the presentation will be available later as well. Any other questions? Okay, I'm just going to press on because we are actually running quite a bit over time. So I'll answer some questions in the chat whilst Victor continues to present.
Okay.
So yeah, we have about, yeah, the time's a bit more limited now. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Great, yeah. So I think next we want to show you maybe just a snapshot on how maybe MASICOPS and IRC are applying this toolkit. So I think just being able to share that. So the first slide really speaks about data flow map. So this is how the model that IRC has adopted, whereby we have we start with the M&D planning. So that's the first step. The second step is whereby we encourage programs to set up a feedback mechanism. And then also, we also encourage them to set up a market monitoring plan, or maybe have this form customized so that, again, they're able to use it. But again, the second and third step have highlighted them in a different color. Because, again, for feedback mechanism, we are really encouraging programs to use client feedback mechanisms wherever possible. But again, just to ensure this is also collected through the project. So again, we have those programs with the client feedback angle, and we are really encouraging them to also use what they have to ensure we're able to get feedback from the people that we serve. And for market price monitoring, so at times we use third-party data, but again, where possible, depending with the budget and time. But again, the tool that we have really supports in collecting this. Yeah, step 4, we do beneficiary registration and selection. After this, we do beneficiary verification just to see who qualify. And then we are able to sample a pool for baseline survey. And we do step 7 there, the real cash distribution. And we do the distribution monitoring just to be able to keep track who received, who didn't receive. But again, it's a tool that tells us maybe on the actual receipt. But again, step 9, we have the post-distribution monitoring. So again, we are able to really do a repeat of cash distribution monitoring, and post-distribution monitoring as possible, so that, again, we are able to get various angles of improvement, areas of improvement that we need. And then from the post-distribution monitoring, as earlier shared, we get really strong feedback that helps us in the next distribution. And then we do the final endline survey just to be able to tell about the impact of the cash programming work. So that's how we have adopted it. And next slide. In the next slide, I just wanted to take you through some quick snapshot. So the first here just shows, so this is a visualization done in Power BI that we have in our toolkit. And the first one there just shows surveys completion by date. So we are able to keep track and know maybe under this month, we're able to do this number of surveys. But again, the charts below shows the one of our core indicator there on ability to meet basic needs. So again, we're able to really group this and tell, let's say, for example, when it comes to the various categories, yeah, how many are able to really meet most needs, some of their needs, how many are not meeting any needs. So again, it really supports that, and we're able to see how we are progressing. Okay, next slide. So in the next slide, maybe taking you back a bit in the next slide. So the next slide, it is more about how we collect this information. Thank you. So this represents the ComCare visual. So again, we are using ComCare for data entry and then Power BI for visualization. So this is how we have been able to customize the various forms, all the way from registration form up to market price monitoring form. But again, we train the teams to ensure they are really comfortable in entering this information and they have control, so that again, if there is any maybe correction or improvement that they need to do, they're able to do it. So again, just representing that snapshot of visual from the mobile data collection app and how the flow looks like. Okay, next slide. So in the next slide, it speaks about, yeah, there we go, it's coming, yeah. Household utilization of cash transfers. So again, showing how maybe the cash that we are giving out is being utilized is really key. And we are able to really have this well structured in a visual, and then just be able to tell how many times maybe a household was able to receive cash from IRC, and then also be able to tell like the various types of expenses that they are spending this money on. And then also we are able also again to tell maybe did the assistant, maybe the clients received from IRC, whether it was enough for them to spend or not. So again, they're able to give us very constructive feedback on the utilization, but really this supports us in being able to structure the next round of distribution, but again, advising us on the future programming work that we are to adopt. Okay, next slide. So in the next slide, it's a slide that speaks about some of the, one of the core indicator. So this is an outcome related indicator. It is on the food consumption score. Yeah, there we go. So again, I know one challenge that we are struggling on is being able to really tell when it comes to outcome indicators how we are faring. But again, having a dashboard that has been done on the toolkit really helps us be able to bring this out. So again, we're able to see the various food consumption score, maybe how many households are living under acceptable, borderline, or even emergency. So we're able to really bring this out and keep track as we deliver the cash programming work, just be able to tell in the long run how we are impacting the population that we serve. So again, this feeds from the baseline and endline form, and we're able to get that difference that really speaks about the impact, and we're able to tell how we are progressing. Okay, next slide. So the next slide speaks about the market monitoring report. So it's coming. But again, remember one tool that we have customized is the market price monitoring tool. So again, we are able to collect this information. But again, if time really allows us to do this, but again, be able to really tell the changes in prices as we deliver our MPC programming work, and how maybe these external changes in prices are impacting the population that we are serving. So again, all the tools that we have really visualized them just to ensure as programs adopt this, they're able to learn and also just be able to make an informed decision on how they are implementing their day-to-day programming work. Yeah, maybe, yeah, I mean, I'll pause there and pass it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Victor. It's always exciting to hear about how other agencies have utilized the tool. So I'm going to be moving on now to Mercy Corps' journey with the MPCA MEAL Toolkit. So first of all, we're going to be taking a look. Okay, so for Mercy Corps, we will look at the use of the toolkit. Not only the use of the toolkit, but also how the toolkit has pushed us to go further in our quest for standardized, automized, and easily accessible data for prompt data decision making. So first of all, why would we even bother to standardize? So in order for us to think about that, I'd like you to consider and ask yourself a question. You can answer in the chat if you want. But how long does it take your team to get a form up and running for a new program? And I mean absolutely all of it, from the initial idea, finding the form, customizing it, discussing it with all your stakeholders, and then all the way through to actually having a piece of analysis to work with. choosing the questions, ensuring that they align with all data, with all donor indicators. You're coding your forms, you're cleaning, and you're creating analysis, including your visualizations. So we saw this as an issue at Mercy Corps. We felt teams weren't getting their data fast enough. Initially, this was through an emergency lens, but after, so we did see it originally as an issue for emergencies, but then what we did, whilst we did have some tools available, we realized that they weren't actually meeting everybody's needs. So Mercy Corps started working on a standardized and automated reporting format over 2 years ago, and we've had various pilot interviews, and from that we created this data flow map, or this timeline even, sorry, that may be familiar to some people. So we've got our emergency distributions being conducted. We've got 2 to 4 weeks of you know, up to 2 to 4 weeks of data collection. It could be less, it could be, you know, 5 days. And then, so we've got our M&E officer in the field. We then look over the next, up from 2 to 5 weeks was the figures we got back from our teams, to have their data, you know, taken from a tablet or wherever and actually physically made into a piece of analysis that was ready to be interpreted and reported on. So we were looking at, I'd say, a 2 to 5 week time period. So in order to kind of look at how we address this, we kind of go back a little bit. So I just want to give you all a really quick and simple example of standardization across variables using genders. So many of the variables across cash programming are very similar. They want names, date of births, family sizes, etc., displacement status. If we label them in a standard way, it can save us time and pain and effort and time that could be spent doing other essential mental tasks. So I just want to ask you to look at this for a second, and maybe this resonates with you, either if you're even within a country or a regional or global level. So country 1, this is the name of their variable, sex underscore of underscore household equals female. Country 2, gender underscore resp equals F, sex equals female. Got a little type error there on the variable name. And then we've got another one that says sex of respondent, and they've got it, you know, a lot of data engineers like to use numbers instead of words. So we've got a nice little selection of number and letters to represent being female. This data can then be put into Google Drive, Comcast, stored on your personal laptop, SharePoint, Excel, or your own database system. And that makes program level, you know, can be okay, but certainly country level, you know, can be very difficult. And then the idea of then aggregating across country teams, regional teams, quickly and easily, and working groups and consortium just becomes harder and harder. And whilst we do make it happen, it's with a lot of pain that can be taken away with automation. And this is where the toolkit comes in too. So this is an example of how things could work if we all try to follow a more standardized route, for example, with the MPCA toolkit, by doing things like using the same naming conventions. So if, for example, Nepal as a country decided to, at Mercy Corps, decided to call all of their gender questions respondent underscore gender, and Indonesia did the same, and Myanmar did the same, and Pakistan did the same, we could then very easily put it in to a centralized data storage, anonymized, obviously, in centralized data storage, and then we could actually use it in an easily and aggregatable way. So for example, you could easily talk about a particular round of cash that happened in Myanmar, of a distribution. You could talk more broadly about Nepal as a country. You could then look at a portfolio. And sorry, I just like to mention these figures are fake figures that I put in. They're not real ones. So we could talk about it as a portfolio, and then we could talk about, for example, in Ukraine, you know, there's lots of consortium work and cash working group, it would be so much easier to aggregate the data if we were all kind of singing from the same sheet. And that could mean that instead of taking 3 to 5 weeks or 2 to 5 weeks to get your analysis, we have managed to push our analysis to be ready in 2 days, and that includes cleaning and analysis by using pre-set up technology and dashboards. And so our forms at Mercy Corps come in XLS and they then go into Comcare mostly. So after the MPCA toolkit was finished, we started to adapt. As you can see here, we actually went beyond the PDM. So the standardization of the of this interagency toolkit, we took further and we actually went into a registration form and a verification tool as well, and a PDM. So this is all stored in Comcare, and Comcare uses case management, which makes it really, really easy. Sorry, I'm just going to have to mute everybody. Comcare makes it really easy to do case management as well. So all of those outcome indicators are really easy to analyze from baseline, which you can take at registration to endline or to PDM. We've also seen teams just completely adapt these tools, like turn a registration form into a baseline, basically. So that's all super exciting. So from Comcare, where do we go then? So we go into our online storage platform, which in our case, we use Azure. So you can take any of your data sources, depending on your agency, and working with data engineers into an online storage platform. If you harmonized your variables, their work is so much easier. If you don't harmonize, the struggle is very real. You can then pull it out into Power BI that we use, or you can also pull it out into Excel sheets, into other interfaces. So Azure will also organize and aggregate your data too, and then your Power BI dashboards can be made available to relevant team members for further analysis. So we do see this, this is currently being used to different and varying extents in Ukraine, Poland, Sudan, and Nigeria. We actually have a nice example from Sudan where before their crisis, here I'm just going to go to the Sudan. So before the crisis came, they actually started using our online tools. This is their baseline assessment. They adapted it from our registration forms, which were adapted from our PDM that came from the MPCA toolkit, which inspired us to go further. So here we have, they've got a nice baseline for their program. I think this happened back in December. Then a few months later, there's a big conflict, an outburst. Immediately, they quickly need a PDM, and very quickly we were able to say, that's fine, we can almost instantly link up your PDM to your registration. And that was by using the PDM that is based, that comes from, with the MPCA toolkit. And just to go back, because I'm just aware we are a bit short on time, these are essentially our standard dashboards. So by using standard tools, such as the cache ones, standard PDM, and other monitoring tools, we're able to make it easier for teams to access like preset tools like this. So rather than having to get your MEAL officer to go through all of this in pivot tables on Excel, you can just plug your data straight in here and you get all of this lovely analysis already. Household income, what are the needs of the respondents? How many people have got disabilities? Where are these people? So it's all really super exciting. And then for us, the next step is pushing it further. So I've mentioned that the tool is adapted into a baseline. And we've also seen it in Haiti. It was also adapted to use into an eligibility and vulnerability assessment. And our next step with this as well is we are moving it on to rapid needs assessments. So, and this is all related to cash. So our building on this will also go from RNA to registration, verification and PDM. And this all links and harmonizes beautifully with the MPCA toolkit as well. And it's really been a joy to work on it. Now we've got 4 minutes left. So I'm gonna be quiet now and let's see. Oh, apparently this too shall pass. Sorry, I've just put the slides down. So I'd just like to see if there are any questions from the rule. A couple of people. We've got Dadut Peter. Dadut Peter, please go ahead with your question. I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear the question. Hey, any other questions? Have we got some questions in the chats? Yeah, so as Joram says, this isn't a special system for Mercy Corps.
Yes, here.
Hi, Faz. Go ahead.
How are you, Amy and Vector?
Well, thank you.
Thanks for all details. Just wanted to know that toolkit includes the assessment or selection process, right? We have SOPs in MPCA.
So as selection and vulnerability criteria sit largely with programs supported by MEAL, at this time it doesn't include that, no. However, this is like partly what Mercy Corps saw, what we saw a need for. Like we were kind of so inspired by the toolkit that we were like, hey, wait a minute, we don't just have to do this for PDM and market monitoring. We could actually do this as a larger process as well.
Yes, and the methodology discussion regarding the MPCA whole process means the toolkit covers the next levels all in MEAL.
That's correct, it does,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Then we have, I don't know if Dadut Peter wants to have another go. No, okay. Aleniana Sissi, would you like to unmute yourself and ask away?
Okay, thank you guys for the nice presentation. My name is Alamayo. I am from Concern. My question is, regarding on the endline survey and the PDM. This is we are talking about the cash distribution. So there is a rule that we conduct the PDM between 2 to 4 weeks. A rule of thumb is it's around 2 weeks. But my question is, what is the difference between the indicators between the endline survey and the post distribution survey? Is there a different core indicator or sector specific indicator within the endline survey and the distribution survey? And the other question, as far as we are going to check within the recall period. So if we don't, if we don't do the endline survey within the PDM time frame, the recall period is will be more than 2 or 3 weeks. So the beneficiaries are not going to recall the the coping strategies.
Yeah. So
and the type of food they are consuming. So what is the purpose of conducting the endline survey? as far as if you conduct the
So
PDM.
I'm so sorry to cut you off, but we are actually over time now, and I think I have a general understanding of your question. So I think your question is related to timing frames for endline and PDM. So it depends on your program. So maybe cash is the main focus of your program. Maybe it's an offshoot project to respond to an emergency. Yeah, of course, if your cash is designed to last 2 months, then you're doing 2 payments over 2 months, then you should probably be looking to do it 2 weeks or 4 weeks maximum, your PDM. So as you say, you're not going to lose those quality indicators. People won't forget how long they waited in the distribution line, right? If you were doing like a 4-year program, the end line is going to look different for if you had distributed cash in the first 2 years, right? So it really does depend on your program. The other thing I would say in terms of end line, that you wouldn't have things like how long did you wait in the line for your cash? Did the ATM work for you? And other such questions related to the process of giving cash out itself, because what we're trying to show is that rather than thinking of them as 2 completely separate surveys, you can think of them as a set of indicators that can be asked at a point of time. I'm just aware we are over time now, so sorry we haven't been able to get to everybody's questions, but we will hope to send a follow-up email after that. So I wanted to say a really big thank you to Save the Children for really pioneering this and spearheading it and doing such a wonderful job, and all the people that worked on it. Victor, did you want to say anything before we close? Victor, you're muted, sorry.
Sorry, it went on mute. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining. And I think we are going to send a follow-up email. So it will be able to really guide on the next steps there. And yeah, for me, I think just to say thank you. Maybe back to you, Emmy.
Thanks very much, Victor. Yeah, a really big thank you to everybody. I know you all have very busy lives and careers. I'm just going to put just before we head off, because I think because this is in Teams, you're going to probably get kicked out of the meeting chat. So just re-putting the link for the toolkit. It's got everything in there. You can look at it online. You can download it in parts. We are also planning to have some in-person training in 2024. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So that's would be super exciting. So please keep listening out for that. The toolkit is in the chat there. I will get in contact with Save to see what they're going to be emailing out later, but really a big thank you for everybody for attending, to Save the Children, and my co-presenter Victor was fantastic. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much. Take care. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yes, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.